make sure that people are reliable, they show up on time, they have their tools, you're just ready to go. And by having your snips, by having a little flashlight that I let somebody use, but a little flashlight, a Sharpie that costs, this is the most important tool for what we do, is a Sharpie. And when guys come to work without Sharpies, that's my pet peeve. You can get a Sharpie anywhere, okay? And then there's screwdrivers. Get the screwdriver that has both ends. How much does the screwdriver cost you guys? Not much money. You know what I mean? And then you got your tool pouch, just a little one that hooks on your side. You don't need no big bucket or any of that. I'll go into that later. But the last thing is a punch. These are a little bit more expensive. They're easy to use. We're going to show you today how to use it, and then you can buy them at Fry's for $50 or $60 for like a level 2 one. They're still good. Or you could purchase them through us or other gray bar or electrical companies that sell these.
After the training, if you want to purchase anything as far as tools, you can go up to the front with Art, and he can talk to you about it. But we will have to have you guys make your payment first. So that you can.
And they also sell the kits. They're all in one for $150. So we sell those too, which are good. So I'm going to kind of go over what our trade is, just real quick, and I think you guys will learn a lot. Safety is important. You go to work. Like Sal, he's Bixie certified, so he knows what to do. He knows what he's looking for. And if we go to his job site and he's running a job, and I go show up with my tool belt, and I got my safety glasses on, and then my hard hat if it's needed. But a lot of places don't use safety glasses, but a lot of techs wear them anyways, because safety is our #1 priority with CNR, and going up a ladder and all that stuff. So you show up to a job site, to Sal's job site looking like this, you're going to have the easiest job out of everybody. Trust me. You're not going to be the one pulling cable or any of that. You're going to be the one building the closet and labeling and testing and doing all the easy stuff part of it. So right now, we're going to get to there. So how we work is we go to leads. We have a person. Women, girls, men, project managers, sales reps, those are big jobs. How do you get jobs? Well, there's marketing, that's where marketing steps in. You make calls. Hey, I'm from CNR, we're a cabling contractor, can we send you out some information? Okay, so once we get leads, we follow up on them, we give them estimates. Some of them are called RFPs, request for proposal. Those are about 30 pages long. And you come up with your own idea how you would present an RFP. And they have certain standards too. So some people will do the trade a little bit, and then they're like, well, I want to do estimating, or I want to do, project managing. Well, those doors are all open. You just got to know a little bit of the trade. So let's say we get a job. Okay, let's say City Ventures say, okay, you guys won the job. 4 people bidded, 15 people signed up for it. 3 people bidded on it, and you guys got the job. And that because we made the effort. Because that's usually what happens. You'll have 15 companies show up for a bid, and then on the second walkthrough, you'll have 10, and then on the final one, you'll have 3. You know what I mean? And then you're the lucky one. So you got to work your numbers there. And how you present yourself and how you meet customers and act and all that is important. Because when we want to go over there and sell them a wireless access point for their area, because this is what wireless is in now. You guys all know that. That's why you're going to school. When this is involved, these things are $600–700 a piece. So I want to make sure that I'm presenting myself as professional as I can. As a matter of fact, I'm not good enough to do it. I have to hire somebody to do it. But my business wants to do it. So. Since I don't know how to do it, I had to hire somebody, and that's how it works. We get the job, right? And then it's 3 buildings. So now we got to figure out, what we're gonna do next. So what we do is you're gonna get prints, not these prints, because this is what I drew, but you'll get, real prints. But I'm gonna show you a sample of what our industry, how easy it really is. And sometimes Sal will have one person, you look the smartest one, I want you to handle the prints, or I want you to, and I mean smartest because he's got his hard hat, he's got his tools, he's got a pen in his pouch, he's got a pencil, an eraser, just all those types of things that foremans notice, and when you go to big construction zones, you need a guy for each thing, you know what I mean? Let's say we have, like we do here, we have 25 people and 2 women. Okay, well, you're going to do the labeling all day long for 3 weeks, and you're going to do testing all day long. You know what I mean? So there's always something in it. And then after the labeling comes on, then there's, there's labeling the cable and all that stuff, and then you want to get your feet wet on that. So we get that building, right? And you'll get it like this too. I mean, you can read it just like this. So you'll get a building. It'll be building 1, building 2, and building 3. And this is Microsoft, because this is the one in Mountain View. They got 5 buildings, but I'm looking at it because I was the project manager. I was the foreman at that time on that project, and I had as many people, double the people here running a crew. So you could imagine 30 people on one job site for 12 months. It was like a year and a half. So I mean, it was that way every day. So when you get a big project, you got a good job for 8 months. And so what we'll do first is we'll do the backbone cabling. Okay, the backbone is always consists of either like a certain type of pair of phone wire, which is a 25 pair, 50 pair, 100 pair. Each 2 cables equals 1 line. So if there's 25 pairs in here, that's 12 lines. And they get bigger. They go all the way up to 1,500 pair, which is about that fat a cable. So most of them use 100 pairs, 100 pairs. So what we'll do is we'll get a backbone going from the D mark, which is in building 3. The D mark is the main point of entry, which is the MPO also. The main point of entry is where Comcast or AT&T come from the street into the building. You guys all see that, right? Just like a house, where it comes from the street into your house. Well, it's the same thing in the building. They're going to have a D mark. Unfortunately, on this job site, the D mark is in building 3. Okay, so we got to get it to the MDF, which is your main distribution frame. The MDF stands for main distribution frame. Okay, that is where the brains of your campus network goes. Okay, and then from the MDFs, you have IDFs, which are independent distribution frames. Okay, they're separate from the main, because after 300 feet of cable, then that's as far as you can go. Then you got to add an IDF. So in other words, there's 2 closets in each IDF. I mean, in each building. An MDF is always the main one, and then IDFs. And in this case, they want a 100 pair and a 20 strand multi-mode fiber. Okay, so what we do is we're going to run fiber to the MDF, and then we're going to run the 100 pair cable to the MDF. Okay, and then that's where we come in from the street. From there, we're going to go to each independent frame with the same thing. Okay, and then from the independent frame, they're going to have to go from building to building. And there's certain codes that we got to go by when we do that. I don't want to get into that, but what we'll do is we'll run fiber and copper to this building, like that, fiber and copper to there, and then we're going to actually go back to here and do the same thing. We'll run it from the MDF to this one, and then we'll run it to the MDF from here to there, because they all link up. Okay? Fiber is this right here. It sounds big, but it's not. This is fiber optics right here. I had Sal do a connection for us earlier this morning. Fiber is usually laid at the top of a data rack. Okay, so the fiber is always pulled to the top in our trade. So if you're pulling it into a building, if you look on your guys' thing, pass it around, it has an MDF build out. And there's a ladder racking, And on page 2, it actually shows you the build out, okay? And what that does, each computer room is built out different. But usually they always put the fiber on top because it's the most sensitive.
Because of the lasers. The lasers that are coming from it. Some are not always capped in here, so that's why it's always on the top, because you can get exposed to it because of your eye. If you have live contact with the laser, it can burn your eye. You can have damage to your eye. That's why they have it at the top.
Yep.
Burn your retina right off.
So, and then the fiber links into the switch. And then that's how you get connection. Okay, that's how easy it is. Our job is to pull the cable, rough it in, and terminate it on the patch panels. That's what we do. We do this part up. The networking crew will do this part down. Sometimes we do both. You know, we like to bundle. So, and that's why the Superbowl is bundling. Okay, now we got the, you know, we ran our backbone cable, we ran our fiber into our racks, okay, on each end in each closet, so we got all our copper that's terminated, you know, that's dressed into the wall behind it. The copper is the phone, and the fiber's for the data. So each company will use both, okay, we never just run one, because there's fax lines, and it's usually data now, but there's always fax lines, modems, and stuff like that, T1s and ISDNs. So now that we're getting ready to run the cable, we're going to say, well, how do you pull cable? Well, we're going to have a print, and the print is going to tell us, you know, from the building 1 and all that, we're going to have the station cables. Of course, there's going to be hundreds of these little triangles. So the triangles each mean something in our trade. And, you know, like an example would be a triangle with no color equals 2 data cables, okay? A solid one will mean 1 cable, a voice only, and then the ones that are split in half, that one says 1 voice, 2 data, so that one gets 3 cables. So it starts to get confusing too, okay? So, and those are the things you got to be aware of, you know, because if you got 300 of these in one building and, you know, 200 in another, you know, someone's got to keep track. And the print, we'll all label it first. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 300. Okay? And our foreman is going to do that. He's going to be responsible for that. Because if he don't label it right and the customer comes down on me, I'm going to come down on him. And he's going to, you know, not want you to work on his job site no more. Okay? So let's say we got to pull 10 cables to an area. Okay? So what we'll do is we'll run string to where we got to go first. So we have string going across the building to where we need to pull cable. Okay? Now we have 2 guys doing that while 2 guys are doing the labeling. And this one's going to, since there's 2 cables per location, we're going to label it, you know, 1A and 1B. And some customers will want it, we want 001. Or 1001, or 1001A, you know, whatever they want, you know, whatever scenario we want, whatever scenario they want. We recommend, you know, we let them know we've been doing this for a while, and this is what you should use for what you have, you know, and sometimes they like that. Sal's going to show you how to do a typical labeling. There is a way to do it. It's very important to label. And real quick, Sal, you want to go over that?
Yes, so when you get a fresh box, always pull out the cable. It'll come out like this, mangled and whatnot. So I usually just cut off the end. Typical. Just cut it right off, sorry about that. Cut it right off. And then I'll grab one. And then, for instance, this is going to be 1A. So I grab it, arm length apart, just like this. And with my fingertip, right here, it's arm length apart. And then, just simple, just label it 1A. 1.A with 2 lines on the bottom, slash on the bottom. And then I'll do it again from here to here. 1.A. And usually, if we're doing it on a big run or in multiple, like if I have like 10 or 15, even 20 boxes, I'll do it 3 times just because of the wear and tear of you pulling it and stuff. So I'll do it 3 times just to be safe.
And the reason why we do the arm's length, I'll give you a good example, because when you make the heads to pull the string, the tape will get on the tip of the thing and then your numbers will come off. The other reason is we do that spacing is because when you go down the wall and you fish it out of the wall, you know, you're gonna need a couple feet to get the label, and that gives you a chance that you have 2 extra feet for that label that comes down the wall. It's important not to lose that label, because when you got thousands of cables, then you know, you mess up one cable number, you can screw up the whole line.
And Rich is correct too, so, and there's another reason why too, because when you're taping the head in, sometimes the label will get caught up in there when you're taping it, especially if you're staggering them. So if you have multiple cables, like say if you have 10, you'll stagger them. And the only reason why you want to stagger them is because when you're pulling in between the A and B points, is because it'll get snagged if you don't stagger them. If you have one fat hen just like that, it'll get snagged on anything, like even those. So when you stagger them just like that, they don't get snagged. You know, they don't get snagged at all. So on this, my next step would be, I'll get my stringer, and then I'll tie it with the loop. It's pretty simple. It's just like an old Boy Scout loop. You come.
This trade, this is the only way we do it. There's no, I mean, there's thousands of people that do it, and we all do it one way.
Just like that. Tie one just like that. Hold that just right there, and then loop it again. Come back and just loop it just again. And you're gonna intertwine, and when you pull it together, it just makes like, it won't. So when you're pulling, it won't come out at all. So then you just do it about 3 times.
Want to tape it up?
Yeah, and then I'll just tape it up. Then I'll have somebody on the other end. Can you help me out a little bit? I'll have somebody on the other end holding it up. Then I'll start from the end point right here. And I'll just rotate it.
Always from the bottom up.
Always
when you
from the
tape.
bottom up. And then just hold the end just right here, nice and tight.
Hold
And
it
it
up high,
keeps it.
guys.
And it keeps it just like that, nice and tight. And then at the end, what I'll do is I'll leave a little flag at the end, the tape flag, because when you're unraveling it, it's just a pain in the butt if you just cut it off. So I'll just leave this about waist length, pull it apart, and then I'll fold it over to leave a little tag.
So that way when you take
So
it off,
that way when you take it off, it'll come real easy. And then usually I'll have a follow string with it. So that's why I left this in. So my follow strings, just the same thing. Just tie it. And then just tie it in. You're always going to have your follow string. Usually I do the follow string probably about twice to 3 times. The only reason why I only do it twice to 3 times because it starts getting tangled into the cable, and you get it all tangled into the cable, and your cable starts looking like crap. And I don't really like that at all.
So do you pretty much like cut as you go, as it gets tangled?
Yeah, as it gets tangled, you cut as you go. But like I do, I'll pull a whole new run in there after the 3rd time and whatnot, because I don't want it to get tangled at all.
string is important in our trade.
It'll save you time, and it'll save you effort, especially from opening up tiles and whatnot. And usually the way that we get the string in there into the ceiling is a pull stick. And I'll go get one too.
So to pull that one.
And that's an extension pole.
And that's
So
an
it starts
extension
off
pole.
this big and you extend it.
So I'll
20
have my
feet.
other technician on the other end, this is Brandon, this is the other lead of the company, and then I'll have him pull from there.
And you'll yell, pull cable! And then
And I'll feed him. And I'll just feed it, just right here, and I make sure that nothing gets tangled up, it doesn't get twisted or not, because it can get twisted just like this. And if you see it getting twisted just like this when it's going up, make sure you just straighten it out. No kinks in my cable.
Yeah.
I
And
don't like kinks in my cable.
right now he's pulling from the IDF to a station cable.
Just like that.
All right? The station cable is going to look like this when we're done. Service loop. Nobody's heard of that before, but a lot of these companies, they want service loops, okay, which is 5 to 7 feet. So when he pulls his cable, he's gonna pull an extra 5 or 7 feet. You know, that goes down the wall, service loop, and then we're gonna do our service loop on this side. Okay, since it's gonna go to this rack, we're gonna, you know, pull enough slack, not over pull it, but we wanna probably go to the ground and
Yeah.
probably back up to the rack.
So what I'll do on that end is usually the easiest way, say the customer wants about 20 feet on both ends. So usually your arm's length is probably about 5 feet, right? Just take it, 5, hold your hand there, then again, 10, 15, and then 20. It doesn't really have to be accurate, just as long as there's enough. I'd rather have more than less, because if it's less, I have to do more rework. I have to pull another cable, I have to pull another line. If it's more, so what? I cut it off. You know, I'd rather have more than less. So just basically, you'll have your endpoint right here. And once you get your endpoint, what I like to do, if there's multiple cables, like there's 10 cables, I like to tape it up, because now I'm labeling my MDF side.
Now you gotta label it again. If you don't do this, you'll probably be fired.
Yeah. And then that's why you write the identification of the cables on the box, like what it is, 1A, 1B. Same process. One, and I'll usually do it 3 times, and that's it. Then I'll cut it off, and then there you go. And then with the new string, just cut off the old string. Make sure you just cut it off, tie it onto the MDF side and whatnot. And then get your Nux head ready. Like the next one would be, you know, you cross this out because it's old now. Now you put 1C, like if it's 1C, and then 1B. Now you're ready. And usually I circle it to let me know that that cable run is still going. And then I'll just read it off from there. And then when I'm done there, I just cross it out. Cross it out and I'll start with a new one. It's pretty simple. Then I'll go to my prints and I'll mark them off and I'll have that. Usually what I like to do is I like to get the person with the best penmanship to be responsible, and only one person. Because if anything goes wrong, I can just go to them and be like, what the heck is this? You know, what is this letter? What is this? You know, I'm not asking 4 or 5 people, you know, to like, I don't know. You know, I don't know. People don't really want to fess up to a mistake. But if you admit your mistake, I don't care. A mistake is a mistake. You know, we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes, but just be accurate on what you see and just be very neat. Neatness is very, very key.
Also, another thing is, after you pull the cable out of the box, look on the cable, there's foot marker numbers.
Yes.
Write the footing on the
footage,
cable.
yeah, Brandon is correct too.
Just
So
because now we can, if you're running 2 cables per station, you want to get the closest box, footings on the boxes together, just so you don't run out of cable.
that's true. Because you start with 1,000 feet. You know, and say that you're pulling that day, you're pulling over 2,000 feet of cable. So you have 2 boxes, you got 2,000 feet of cable. So if your run is going to be, say it's going to be 150 feet. So you pretty much pull what you need to pull on that end, and then you mark. You'll see and identify the footage on the cable. It'll say 150 feet, you know, and it'll say 670 something on it and whatnot. You read it, and then what you see right here, if it says, for instance, like this one, it says 288 feet. I'm like 288 feet, and that's what's left on the box. So when I'm pulling again, I'll come to my box and I'll ask you, how much do I have in my box yet? 288 feet left. Then I'll look at my print and I'll see the next run, because usually prints come with the footages on it too, you know?
Yeah, after 300 feet, you can't run it, that's as far as you can go.
That's as far as you can go. You can't go exceed 300 feet on any run whatsoever when
That's
you're
why they
doing
do
data.
the IDFs. Sometimes buildings will have, like if you're in a big building and you'll see like 3 communication closets, well that's why, because the building's so big, the cable could only go so far, so they gotta do independent ones. Okay, and that's good for our trade, because we gotta do the same thing starting all over. Sometimes each closet will get 200 cables, you know, like in a building like Microsoft. Well, that one was like, you don't even wanna know what that one was like, but there's a lot of cables, you know. So some of them will even have fiber optics going to them, you know, and,
You have a question?
Yeah, so when you're labeling it again, you label one A or one C?
Yes, you label it again, and it's going to be like you eliminated 1A and 1B already. So you look on your print, what's next? Okay, 1C and 1D, that's next. So you're always looking at your print, and if
he
you can't,
didn't label this the same number as that.
Yeah.
So he should have labeled that the same number so they're identical.
Yeah.
Before he even cuts this or do that. And I think that's what she picked
yeah,
up.
that's
Both
what you
sides
picked
of
up.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both sides have to be labeled the same because of the simple fact that it's going to one end, and obviously it's going to be punched down on your patch panel. This is your patch panel, 24 port, or you'll get a 48 port, and that's what it'll read on that. On the labels, like this, it'll be 1B, and it'll be 1B up here too. So it'll be the same.
But when you label that second part, when you just talking about, can you do another?
Yeah, you do the same thing.
So add it on. with-
Yeah, every time you label and you pick up the cable and you're labeling cable, you guys put it 3 times on the arm's length apart. It's pretty easy, it's pretty simple, you know. It's just paying attention.
That's the method in our trade. After today, you can remember this and go do a job for Verigen or anywhere and just remember this little stuff, you know, because that's all you got to do. Especially if they're pulling and you're just feeding them the cable.
Sometimes you'll get customers too that have their own pre-labels too. They'll give you the scope of work and the prints, and with the prints they come labels. They make up these big sheets of labels. They'll have one for pulling, and then after you're done pulling, and one from the final, which is terminating. So it's the same thing. They'll just wrap around. You get it from, you read the print, you get it, you take your sticker off, you wrap it around, and you make sure what it is. It's same process. I like to do it that way because it eliminates making mistakes. Because you can make mistakes on just labeling it. You can actually read the wrong one and just write down the wrong one. So the big corporations like to do that.
Now, the reason why it's 300 feet, is that because you have interference and latency once you start getting to that length?
It's for crosstalk and, you know, interference, speed.
Continuity?
Yeah, all that stuff takes effect then.
Ultimately, it's physics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I got a couple of minutes late. Those brackets that you do the pull through, is that something that's already in the print, or is that something we do?
That's something we will install.
We install.
Yeah, we totally install the hooks. That's part of our, you know, our job, and we put that in the estimate. What I do is I'll get certain guys to pull, I'll get certain people to label, I'll get certain people to terminate, or dress, or label. You know what I mean? If you guys look on page 3, I'll show you about the labeling. If you notice, we say label a lot because it's important.
Yeah.
So on the patch panel side, it gives you a typical way of showing a label, okay? So, and there's the fiber right there, the blue part, that's fiber optic. So from there, it goes to the switch. And a lot of times, terminating fiber is very patient. You don't even need to know the trade. You can just learn how to terminate fiber. And some people just do fiber and that's it.
You have to have a steady hand to do fiber though.
Yeah.
Honestly.
We're gonna have a
Fiber-
class on that later, on another time. If you're interested, you know, sign up with Yolanda and then, you know, you might like it. This is the fiber panels. They all come in different ways. They come horizontal and vertical. That's a horizontal, but these plates actually snap in there once you open up that cover. And then the patch panels, if you notice, are labeled a certain way in sequence. If you go to the next page, it shows you a data termination panel. And the other one was voice, so it kind of tells you how they want it. This was a manual that was sent to us telling us this is how we want it. And so we had to do it to their spec, okay? So we did that labeling scheme. This is how we want it patched in. This color, everything. This is the next page. This is how we want our cable dressed. With these hooks, looking this neat, looking just like this. And then, you know, I have some guys like Roberto, he just wants to pull cable because he wants to, you know, make it look nice and, you know, he's young, you know, and strong. and that helps. And I got, you know, people like me that just want to just label, you know what I mean? So that helps.
You just want to do fiber.
Yeah. I'm the one that goes like this. Okay, so once we got it dressed in and looking nice, we take out that string that he was talking about that we ran that pathway, because it's too intertwined. So sometimes I'll say take it out, or if we just put it in, then I'll say leave it. Or I might just say, you know what, take out the old and run a new one, because I want it to look nice for the customer.
And that's actually would be the best way to do it. Just like Rick said, the last one, you know, I'll take out the last pull string and take it out, because the person that's going to come behind you, and if they want to add on a new line, meaning the customer, all you have to do is when the technician comes on site, he'll open up the ceiling tile and he'll see a pull string, and that's the best thing that any technician can have. And they see a pull string, and it's not tangled in with anything. It goes down the road. That's a perfect world, though.
Yeah.
You know, you won't get that. You won't get that. But if you do get that and you see that, you knew that technician that was installing that with those runs before you did what they needed
Close
to
that a
do.
little bit.
So I mean, it's very important to help out your factory technician.
There you go. That's good. The sun was in it.
We like to call it the follow string. You know, as long as the follow string is not tangled with the cables.
So once we get all the cable in, we're cleaning up and all that, and we're starting to label the patch panel. Then if you turn the next page, then we label our stations. You see that? This is where labeling comes, you know, back to haunt you if you don't do it right. Okay? So everything will be labeled, you know, A, B, C, whatever. This is the way they wanted it. They wanted blue jacks, they wanted it A, B, C, but they wanted one number. They didn't want 2 numbers or 3 numbers. So, which is a good way to do it, I thought. And then there's surface mount boxes, if you turn the page. These are surface mount boxes that are used when you're doing wireless access points, when they're up high. So we put them on biscuit jacks, and we label them and patch them, but we label them down in the communications room where the labeling is done. So I'll get all the face plates, all the labeling, and I'll get one person, it'll take them 2 days to do all the labeling. I mean, it's that, you know, intense. It's time consuming. But we only want to do it once, you know what I mean? And then if you go to the last page, I kind of show you a little Dollar Tree store that we did, and we kind of did everything. And this is kind of what the prints look like. They have the legends. You see where it has the triangles of what needs to be pulled, how many cables. Well, once you start learning the trade and you do it a couple times, even right now, you guys can probably understand what they want at each location. And some guys are really good. Khalid that came from Mission College has been with us less than 2 months. Less than 2 months. And he's already installed probably, what, 300 access points?
He's doing pretty good.
And pulling cables. He's doing really good. And he's an electrical engineer. You know, he should be making, what, $60,000, $70,000 a year? Maybe double that. And he's pulling cable. But you know what? He's got heart. He's going to go somewhere.
So don't you guys tell him that he should be making more?
Yeah, well, you know, I gave him a $2 raise after about 3 weeks. You know what I mean? And nobody gets a $2 raise after 3 weeks nowadays. And I did it because he was reliable. He showed up to work. Hey, Rich, look at me. I got my tool belt, right? The next day, hey, Rich, checking me out. Man, I got the screwdriver. You know, here's one for you, you know, and I got 2 for 1. And I seen it in him, you know what I mean? And at first I didn't want to, you know, hire him because, you know, there was a couple reasons, you know what I mean? And first of all, he's never done it before. He had trouble understanding me because we spoke 2 different languages. But you know what? He's a lot smarter than me, and I didn't let that interfere by me hiring. You know, what he looked like, how he looked, what he talked, or anything. I looked at his heart and what he felt, he thought he can do for our company. And he was bugging Yolanda. So I said, all right, get him, tell him to come and help because he's bugging too much. And Clarence is another guy too. He's worked with me and then I kind of stopped calling him. And the reason I did that is because it got kind of slow and he lives far and I don't want to put him in Hines Way. But he was calling Yolanda saying, I don't care where it's at. I need to work. I want to work. So Finally, after a couple weeks, I said, you know, Yolanda, let's call them, you know, we need guys like that. It was my mistake, you know what I mean? And it just snowballs after that. You know, you weed out the bad ones and the good ones stay, you know, and from what I can see here, there's a lot of good ones. So what we're gonna do now, you guys, is we're gonna take a little break. Let's get some coffee and some stuff, and then when we come back, Sal and Brandon and I are gonna go around and we're gonna strip these back for you guys, and we're gonna go do a little lab, and we're gonna terminate a couple jacks. Okay, so you guys get the feeling on it. If you guys have done it before, show the people next to you. I know a couple guys are from Verigent, which is the temp agency. So, you know, just feel free to show the next person. We're gonna go over the color code, why it's done this way, and all that stuff. I don't want to, you know, bore you guys or anything like that, but do you guys have any more questions before we take a break? Good. We're actually going to be installing at the Super Bowl, we're going to be installing about 70 of these. There's about 48 cameras in here, and each of these, behind that door where you are, John, can you shut that a little bit? You guys see the monitor and the keyboard and the server? That's all cameras. So we're gotta run fiber to 70 of those. And then cameras, since it's a 48 port switch, we gotta run 48 cameras to that one area. So you could imagine the Super Bowl, how big the parking lot in Santa Clara is gonna be, installing 70 of those in 1 month. Well, actually a month and a half. And then not only that, in February after the Super Bowl, we got 1 week to demo it. And it's a, what? $10 million job, not for me, but it's you know, it's a $10 million project that's going to be demoed after the project. That's a lot of money to throw away. So part of my contract was, you know, yeah, we'll do it, we'll give you a good rate, but can we keep the cable after and demo it and scrap it, and so we could have a party? And he's like, yeah, you can take the cable, more because they don't want it, you know. So I threw that in the bid. I guarantee you, I'm going to make a lot of money on that cable.
So you sold it to them and then you take it back?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. But you'll have customers, well, they'll request for the cable back because they know the recycling process too. But sometimes they're just like, you know, they don't want to deal with that recycling process, so they give it back to us. So it's under the contract itself.
You only recycle it, you can't reuse it?
When you recycle it, you can use it. Just cut off the ends and you can reuse it again. As long as it's not scorned in the middle, meaning or damaged, you can still reuse it for other jobs and whatnot. But really, when you're pulling it out of the box, and you really don't want to reuse it and stuff, you know, you can reuse them as patch cords. You make patch cords, which are RJ45s, and that's a totally different thing.
We don't reuse it in our trade.
But no, you don't really need to reuse it. The best thing to do is just to recycle it. You'll get some money for it. If it's a big job like the Super Bowl, you'll get a lot.
So that job's 100,000 feet of cable, and these are 1,000-foot boxes. So 100,000 feet is what, 1,000 boxes of cable, or,
Yeah,
you know. So
and it's going for right now about $1.25 to $1.50, almost up to $2. It's about how close you get it to the port.
Yeah.
Because from the port they take it back to China and strip it all down, and they use the copper themselves.
So that's all transport costs.
You can make some money off of spare cables and stuff.
so going into the project.